Joining us now is Hockey Alberta's Senior Manager of Hockey Development, Justin Fesyk, to talk a little bit about coaching development. So Justin, thanks for sitting down. Feels pretty good to do a live interview here. Might be the last one again for a while, so welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. Always a pleasure. And it is nice to talk in person in our office. So good environment to be in right now.
First off, you've been with Hockey Alberta since 2005, so over 15 years now. You've seen a lot of evolution in not just your role, but the organization as a whole. So maybe just start off by talking a bit about what your current role is, or maybe even start at the beginning and where you started and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride of a kid graduating out of university in Saskatchewan and not really knowing the path of growing up, and we had the opportunity to get a job with Hockey Alberta, and was fortunate enough to open our first regional center. And our regional center happened to be in Grand Prairie. So, did a little bit of a different location for me being a small town Saskatchewan boy, but I think the opportunity to work in hockey was something that I relished. And from there moved on and, had the luxury of working in 4 different roles within Hockey Alberta, and all the way to the Senior Manager of Hockey Development, and oversee all of our coach programming in Alberta, all our player development, and then also most recently our Team Alberta program and a lot of our elite programming through our AEHL and AFHL.
And you've also had the opportunity to work in some different areas like the Team Alberta program or with Hockey Canada as well, too. So from that, you've seen player development, coach development at pretty much every level of the game.
Yeah, having a young family, been through it. Started out at the U7 and the Intro to Hockey model with my own kids, and then moving on as well to be the director of operations when we still operated the national under-17 program. All the way up to a national level down to the U7 kids. So seen it all, been part of it all. A lot of great experiences, worked with a ton of great people, and a lot of different challenges as a coach as you move through the different levels. But obviously very rewarding, but just different challenges needed at each level.
And it's National Coaches Week, so obviously we're going to talk about that a bit. And just from your perspective, both as a Hockey Alberta, with your role with Hockey Alberta, and as a coach yourself, as a parent, as a hockey parent, how important is a coach, not only for player development, but really just as a part of everyone's life? Because I can remember growing up, I still remember a lot of my coaches. A lot of them was my dad a lot of the time, but coaches can be a huge figure in people's lives.
Yeah, I think it's the one piece that we maybe overlook, but just the ability to be a role model for not only your own children if you happen to be a parent coach, but also all the other kids on the team. And it's similar to a teacher role. The amount of time I think we maybe underestimate how much time a coach spends with kids, throughout their hockey season. Very similar, very relatable to a teacher in a classroom. And those of you that are parents, your kids, most of them make special bonds with their teachers, can name them by name, from grade to grade. And I think it's no different in hockey as kids move up. The adult influences become very influential in who they are and who they become. And obviously the main point is just their experience within the game. So I always say that coaches kind of hold the kingdom, the key to the kingdom for a kid's development and their experience.
And that rolls perfectly into the next question, because obviously at Hockey Alberta, player development is the largest, arguably most important part of what we do here at Hockey Alberta. But coach development is huge too, not only to make sure we're developing good coaches, but how does that translate to player development if we're doing our part to help develop great coaches?
Yeah, I think, that's why we do exist at Hockey Alberta. We are a membership and a participant-driven organization. It does boil down to more kids playing and experiencing the game. But then all the components around the things that affect the kids' experiences is the part that we would look at. So, looking at Hockey Alberta, annually we have over 60,000 youth playing the game. And then on any given year, we have about 16,000 coaches. So there's some big numbers there as we look at. But really, when we looked at it as an organization, how are we really going to truly affect those 60,000 youth participants in our game? And the easiest way when we looked at it, a little overwhelming at that number, but we were able to take a smaller chunk and really look at the coaches and the influence that they have and giving them all the tools that they need to provide the positive experience for the kids. When we look at the training and leadership component, we can provide that. But once coaches get that, they're kind of on their own, and they really are the ones who lead and guide that player's experience and that player's development. And then also we encourage them to, hold the keys to the tools that can have every kid reach their potential in our sport. And ideally that falls majority of the time back right on the coach. So pretty big responsibility, but again, exciting role for, our adult leaders and our leaders within the game in hockey. So.
And it's got to be a moving target as well, because, you're not dealing with kids where a lot of times you're teaching them something for the first time. You have adults now who have grown up, maybe coached a different way, because I think we've seen it at every level of the game. Coaching style has changed a lot. So there are kind of some speed bumps and a lot of learning curve on Hockey Alberta's side for really how to best work with these coaches and develop them, because, they may come in with a completely different mindset.
Well, I think there's been an evolution in the game and in society. So I think the demands from the consumer or the player and even the families is quite a bit more. As we look at it, the game has become more skilled. It's become faster. It's become maybe less team focused, less technical, but more real individual skill. And we see that in today's day and age with the elite players in the NHL. And those are the new role models for the kids. And that's where they want to strive to achieve. So we have not only, as a coach, you have the responsibility of running a team, providing a safe environment, giving kids the tools, but more and more the demands are for the coaches to really understand the areas of skill development and what are the skills needed to execute the tactics within the game. And that's the part that parents are looking for. That's the fun stuff where the kids get to be creative, really push themselves outside of their limits, but really do some pretty neat things with the puck and really increase the pace of play. So the demands have definitely grown. You also talk about the technology within the game. The way we teach shooting is drastically different. Now we've got these composite sticks. So just technique has become really prominent. And what we want to do is teach kids proper technique at younger ages. So when they do get the strength and ability, that they can reach their potential. So a lot of different things changed in the environment, in the game, but again, always exciting. And the evolution is always there. And that's what keeps us busy and working day to day. So.
And there are a ton of opportunities available for coaches or even for organizations to utilize through Hockey Alberta. What are some of those? Because I know we do a lot here, and there's probably a lot that people may not realize. So maybe we'll start off with, you mentioned at the top there, the regional centers and how it's evolved from you in Grand Prairie, and now there's 6 across the province, including one here in Red Deer for the central region. But talk a bit about the evolution of the regional centers and what they offer to our members.
Yeah, for sure. As I mentioned, I opened the first regional center back in 2006, which seems like quite a while ago now. It took us a while to actually establish that framework and what it would look like. We weren't able to open our second center until 2010. So we had 4 years of operation to try to figure out, what were the needs, what was the purpose, how much service could we provide? What were our associations looking for? And really, we found that evolution around the coach development really opened a new door, and it became a whole new area of service that we could provide as Hockey Alberta. So shortly after 2010, we did expand to our 5 additional centers by 2013. So it took 4 years for the second one, and then within 3 years, we opened 5 additional ones. So after we were able to prove the strategy, we moved very quickly because we knew that there was a need out there and that we could provide more support to associations and better developing their coaches. As we look at it, in our strategic direction, creating a really, I'd say, comprehensive coach development plan is really important. We have focused on a coaching pathway. And within that pathway, first and foremost, the coach development does start at the local level. So we want to create an environment where our associations put the amount of emphasis needed and support mechanisms in place to develop their coaches. And then we would progress all the way through. We do offer the National Coach Certification Program. So those are our minimum coach requirements that all coaches need to take as a head coach, as a part of a team within Hockey Alberta. So that's a regulation put in place. But what we really found is with the national programming, it gave coaches a broad base and gave them the confidence to run a team. But we really wanted to tailor that further. We have the ability in Alberta. We have unique challenges. And what we wanted to do is really have our coach education program cater to the needs of the players within Alberta and what the coaches needed as well. So gathering a lot of information, looking at, what we could do to enhance the coach's ability to deliver. We created a lot of different options within our coaching pathway, whether it's around leadership, whether it's getting kids at the midget level involved through our Future Coaches program. We have a post-secondary program called our Future Leaders Development Program, which gets post-secondary kids exposed to coaching and giving them some tools. And then all the way as we go through, right, to our AA models, AAA models, and what I would call our pinnacle to our coaching pathway, which would be our Team Alberta program. For those coaches that have the ability to be involved in that, it is I wouldn't say a crash course, but it definitely gives them the hands-on practical teaching knowledge that you can't really get anywhere else. When we bring them in, they select a team, they go to a competition, and then through that, all of the coaches have a mentorship or a mentor opportunity where they are attached, and each team has a mentor. So really second to none. I think it is leading in the whole country with regards to what we do with our Team Alberta program, and something we pride ourselves on at Hockey Alberta as an additional avenue for coaches to be the best they can be.
So really a lot out there for coaches, for all our members to utilize in the way of development. And it's all on our website, so we won't make you sit here and list everything off one by one. But really the easiest way, if any coaches are curious about what's available to them, obviously just call or contact your regional center, right? That's what they're here for.
Yeah, our regional center locations are strategically placed across the province. There's the 6 centers. They do each have operating areas. So all of the minor hockey associations have a designated regional center as their first line of contact. And if if they are looking for support around the coach development piece, around any player development initiatives, that is their front line. So in a value chain and a good communication path, we do want them to be the front line. And then from there, we can filter out as to what the needs are. And hopefully service at a very high level to what the needs are of each individual association.
And you mentioned, all the different programs, and with your 15 plus years at Hockey Alberta, it has to be pretty cool too, because you've seen a number of coaches grow from the grassroots level to coaching in, the Western Hockey League or even beyond, a couple coaches in the NHL. What's that been like for you personally, just to be a part of that growth and see these coaches go from really realize their dreams?
Yeah, I think it's a sense of pride, and it's that creating that coaching fraternity. And I think, the one component is just, once you go into battle with a coach on a team or a competition, you really develop that lifelong friendship. And so I've kept in touch with a lot of the guys I've been able to work with, the guys that have moved on to maybe coach at World Juniors, Michael Dick with a World Championship last year. Lots of people that have gone through our program, started, at a different level, but worked their way up. And I think we pride ourselves. We've been very, very, I guess lucky in our short-term competitions. And that's a testament to our coaching fraternity that we've built. We've been very successful on any national level or Western level, bringing home multiple gold medals numerous times, and always in the running and competing for that first place position. So that's a testament to the coaches in Alberta and the ability for us to, not only develop them, but, maintain those relationships and then giving them the tools and then utilizing their expertise to benefit the kids in Alberta. So yeah, definitely rewarding. And it's neat to see people move on and be successful at all levels. So.
And a couple more coming up on the show as well. We have a panel with Alex Mandalidis and Carla McLeod. Obviously, with Carla has her playing success, but also success as a coach in the Team Alberta program. And Alex he's getting ready to be part of the U16 camp that's about to happen here. So that's pretty cool. The last thing I wanted to touch on, and it's hard not to talk about the pandemic because it's been now such a huge part of our lives, but obviously the last year and a half has been a struggle, and the 2020-21 season really barely got off the ground in terms of playing time for players. But Barry Midori has mentioned on this show that it's not a lost year. So from the development side, what kind of opportunities were there? And I know Hockey Alberta did a lot to try and, in a different way, especially over Zoom, develop coaches and still use that time to make sure that they could develop these coaches off the ice and provide a different, unique learning opportunity. So from your standpoint and everyone here on the development side of Hockey Alberta, what was that like?
Yeah, it's interesting because you talk to a lot of people and, I guess taking the NHL type of model, but, coaches are so busy throughout the season. They got 6 to 8 months of working in their team and developing and leading them. And the one part we kind of forget about is, when do coaches have time to develop? And really that is during those off seasons and that downtime within their season. So, saying the pandemic was a loss is probably not true, but at the same point, when the game wasn't able to be operated on the ice, we were able to offer some opportunities for coaches to continually hone their trade. Because just as we want players to develop, we definitely encourage coaches to develop as well. So we did have some pockets of time where we were able to offer some online training, but even just reaching out and, during a time of need, touching base with coaches, seeing how they're doing. What are the types of things they're doing with their teams? How can we continually support? But I think really finding that time and really the lifelong coaches and the growth mindset coaches are the ones who take advantage of those opportunities and finding that time to really continue and hone their craft so they can be the best they can be. So a bit of a different spin, but something we can think about is, when do coaches really get the time to develop? Because they are so busy through a season worrying about others, but you can be a little bit selfish in some downtime and take that opportunity to make yourself better.
And I think it's another area as well where, the whole telecommuting type of way of doing things and using Zoom for one has really changed the game, and probably something I would think that'll be utilized in the future, even when we hopefully transition back to being able to do things in person again fully. Because I know, you can get a coach come on and from wherever they are in the world and talk to the Alberta coaches and stuff. So I have to assume that's something that's going to keep being utilized.
Yeah, the technology has been definitely a bonus, and it's here to stay. It is part of our educational plan moving forward. And like you said, there is an opportunity to connect around the world. We've had Ralph Kruger on before from Germany. We've had other guys on, and it's just interesting. You have different challenges with time zone and changes in that, but it's definitely connecting the world in a way which was very difficult before. As a nonprofit organization, obviously, to bring people in person, travel them around, becomes very difficult, and it is taxing on our membership. So finding ways to be more efficient, to deliver, obviously key messages, but obviously sharing, coaching experiences as well will be here, and definitely something we're looking at. Through that, we are looking at within our league structure, definitely supporting throughout the season. As we found, it's really hard to do in-person stuff in the season. So we are able now, while a coach is continually coaching, we can find ways to touch on things at key points within the season. We are able to get messaging out instantaneously in a very effective way as well, where you can actually go face to face. And I just think back of the days of the old conference calls, and now those are such a thing of the past, and everything's about video and seeing people in reaction and actually communicating through technology, and definitely been a bonus and something that we'll take advantage of moving forward here at Hockey Alberta.
Well, we won't take up much more of your time, Justin, but thank you for hopping on here. As I mentioned, it's always a pleasure to have people from the office here in Hockey Alberta on. I think we have a lot to talk about, a lot to share, and a lot to be proud of. So thank you again for sharing really just a little bit of insight into the coaching development side of Hockey Alberta. And thank you to you and the whole development team for everything you do.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ted. It's it's something that we probably don't brag about enough for sure, but there's a lot going on, and we got a staff of 14 that's out there day to day trying to make the game better, and we want to continually support that. So yeah, thanks a lot, and all the best.